Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanTrucks.com. Today we're taking a quick look at and installing the Whipple cold air intake fitting your 3.5 liter EcoBoost F150. If you're the owner of that 3.5 Eco and you're looking to ditch the factory airbox to pick one up that gives you a better fuel efficiency, better engine efficiency, and of course gives you a bump in horsepower and torque, as well as a little bit of engine noise. If that's what you're looking for, the Whipple option is a huge upgrade over the factory one. Whipple claims 132% airflow boost over the factory option, which we'll take a closer look at side by side on the table in just a second. Whipple also lets us know you can expect about 15 foot-pounds of torque and 10 horsepower when picking up their cold air intake. It's made from extremely high quality materials, cotton gauze filter with a black stealth hex filter design, which I'll show you in a second as well. You're also looking at roto-molded tubing with the Whipple name steel plated on the side of the tubing. Now it comes with all new couplers, all new clamps, and the install is extremely easy. You can pick this particular kit up for just about 380 bucks. The install, 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter here, 30 to 45 minutes in the driveway at home at the absolute maximum. The thing is extremely easy to install. It's one of the first mods truck owners and car owners in general really do under the hood. It's super easy to do, it's pretty affordable, and it really gets the job done. Now I'm going to show you guys how it gets installed, so let's get to it. Kicking off this install, I'm using a topside creeper simply because we've got a 4-inch lift on our EcoBoost. So it's a little tough to reach the back here of this engine bay. So making our lives a little easier, I'm up top here. I'm gonna use my extension here with my 7mm deep socket to tackle the 3 clamps up top. So we've got 1, we've got 2, and then 1 a little bit down lower here, which actually is facing the reverse side. So the extension is really gonna come in handy with that one. Once we get those clamps loosened up, we'll be able to remove the sensor on the back side, the 3 tubes on the bottom end, and then we'll disconnect the top here of our factory air filter and remove that all in one piece. Next up here, we have to unplug our sensor right above our throttle body in between the tubing and the manifold. Now that's just going to be a pinch and pull. That'll come right off. Now at this point, we can disconnect this factory tubing from the intake filter along with the top end of the airbox. That'll all come off in one piece. All right, we can pop these 2 tabs off of the factory airbox lid. At this point, we can disconnect the tubing from the bottom and lift all of this up in one piece. All right, of course, the super easy step of all this is just to remove the factory filter from the airbox, and you can see it's a pretty dirty paper element filter. That one we can toss aside because we are not reusing this. So we got our factory airbox off of our EcoBoost and sitting on the table here next to our Whipple cold air intake. Now, as you can see, filter, tubing, airbox, complete night and day difference. Now the factory air filter here is a paper element filter, which does a relatively decent job of filtering out the particles and making sure cold air gets to your engine, although it is pretty restrictive when compared to the Whipple option here. As you can see, this is a much larger conical air filter that has a cotton gauze filter with a mesh screen on the outside, making sure that there are just several layers of protection filtering out the particles you don't want getting into your engine while still pulling in a ton more air than the factory filter. As far as the rest of the kit here, you're looking at roto-molded plastic with just a completely streamlined tubing, making sure there is no kinks, no hard bends to restrict that airflow. It's got a smooth finish from the outside of the truck all the way to the manifold and your turbo. As you can see, it's got the Whipple plate here that's got the Whipple name and EcoBoost cut out into this stainless steel plate, which I think just really adds a nice styling touch under the hood, lets you know what brand you're rocking under there, and keeps a really good appearance. Now the rest of the kit here from the factory is just honestly subpar quality. There's a lot of ripples and bends and hard kinks that just restrict all that airflow. The tubing here also has a textured black powder coated finish, which again just adds to that appearance under the hood and gives it a nice stealthy appearance to blend in with the rest of the engine bay. The factory stuff, night and day in comparison, and I'm really excited to see what this does on our EcoBoost. So what do you say we get started on the install? The only thing we have to transfer over from our factory tubing here is the temp sensor. Now to get this out, we've already unplugged the sensor clip when we were in the truck. So to get that out, we've already twisted it here. You just pull straight back, and there is a blue O-ring seal, which keeps it pretty tight. So just put a little elbow grease into it, you'll pop that right out. Now we're gonna be careful with this, transferring it over to the new tubing. We've also got a rubber grommet that we have to pre-install. Now the black rubber grommet here, we're gonna put in with the cone side first. Kind of twist that into place. And we're going to take our temp sensor, and that's going to go in next. There you go. Now when we toss this in the truck, we'll just cap it off with the harness from in the engine bay. So out of all the clamps provided in the kit, there are 2 larger ones and 2 smaller ones. Your 2 larger ones are going to be used obviously for the larger end of the tubing. We're going to slide one of them on first. Then we're going to take the larger of the 2 couplers and slide this over the end. Now it'll take some, manipulation of some of the ends here just to get it on, but once you get it on, you'll be able to loosen this clamp up and slide it over this end of the coupler. We'll loosen that up with our 8mm socket. Take our ratchet and tighten this one down here.
First thing we're going to do is set in place our new Whipple filter. We're going to drop that into the factory lower air box and put on our new heat shield from Whipple. Now that's going to go over the edge, and you'll see 2 little clips here that will hug the inside of that lower heat shield, and it'll kind of sit in place. Now these old clips will snap right on over these cutouts, holding that in place. You can grab our tubing, and you want to make sure you have this oriented properly, again with the secondary clamps on the end of each coupler. We're going to set that in place on the factory tubing. Take our 8mm socket and tighten down those clamps. All right, at this point we can do the same thing with the filter here over the tubing. Clamp already pre-installed out of the box on the filter. All right, with the filter installed, now we can install our weather stripping around the heat shield. We put our weather stripping roughly in place here. Now what I'm going to use are wire cutters here to just make snips at each 90-degree angle edge. That way we know exactly where we're going to need to cut this weather stripping. We've got one snip there at the edge, one snip up here, roughly about where that would be, down in each corner. Now we can take this off and make our cuts clean through on a table. All right, now that we have them cut in their appropriate sizes, we can install our weather stripping. All right, last step here of the install is to make sure we plug in our temp sensor on the tubing and take our factory harness, snap it right into place. Now we're good to go. That's gonna wrap up my review and install of the Whipple cold air intake fitting the 17.3.5 EcoBoost F150. This one's going to be a huge night and day difference over your factory option, a huge boost in airflow, streamlined airflow with less restriction, something that gives you horsepower and torque gains that are pretty noticeable according to Whipple, and something that has just a seriously high quality build. If this is what you're looking for, you can get yours right here at AmericanTrucks.com.